It's day 5 of Paris-Nice. And American Andrew Talansky is the race leader after the biggest win of his career on stage 3. Talansky now wears yellow for the most mountainous day of the race so far. It is the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra. Stage 4, day 5 of the 71st edition of Paris-Nice, the race to the sun, and today 124 miles from Brioude to Saint-Vallier. Hi everyone, Steve Schlanger alongside Paul Sherwin. We've had a different leader every day so far. American Andrew Talansky, now the 4th different rider to wear the yellow jersey, leading by 3 seconds at the top of the overall standings. And today's route, taking the riders east for the most difficult stage of the race so far, with 7 climbs to conquer.
Yeah, I think if you look at the race route here this afternoon, this is going to be probably the most decisive stage we've had so far, because look at the profile here. It is nothing but uphill and down into the valleys before climbing back up once again. And down towards the end, those final 2 second category climbs will make it very grippy.
And we now pick up the action with just under 52 kilometers left to go. And that's about 32 miles of racing. And we have the largest breakaway of the race so far, 7 riders with a lead of just about a minute and a half over the main field. Thomas Vockler, the French rider for Europcar, is the highest placed rider on the general classification at a minute 32 seconds down on Talansky's lead.
Well, it took a long time for this breakaway to actually get formed. The first 3 riders, in fact, got it clear at 8 kilometres, and that was Vockler, Meersman and Johan Schopp of Team AIM Cycling. And about 30 kilometres later, it took a 4-man chase group to actually reintegrate the leading group of 3 to form this leading group now of 7 riders strong. And yes, Thomas Vockler, sitting on the back there, is the highest placed in the overall standings. We're at 50 kilometres to go. That's 31 miles. We've done a lot of climbing so far, but if you look down towards the right-hand side of the profile, there's 2 nasty little climbs still to come in the last 25 kilometres or 18 miles of racing.
Still 2 Category 2 climbs, both at over 6% and each about 3 kilometers long. And then at the finish, it will actually be downhill in the final 5 kilometers. That could also be somewhat tricky with some technical corners awaiting these riders at the end of the stage.
Yes, there have been a few abandons as well on the day. 4 riders, in fact, pulling out of this race. Probably the most notable, Jakob Fuglsang, in fact, being pulled out of the race by his team, complaining of stomach problems.
And there is the reigning world champion, Philippe Gilbert of the BMC team. Now, he's off the back of the main field. It looks like he's making his way with the help of the team car through the caravan and trying to get back up to the rest of the field. He's one of the primary helpers of his team leader, American TJ Van Garderen.
Well, I would guess the fact that he's coming back through the convoy of cars, he's had a mechanical incident, and he's using his team car to get himself back into the main field. This is the sort of day, I think. You know, Philippe Gilbert is lying well up in the overall standings, in 11th place overall. In fact, he's lying a little bit further ahead of his team leader, TJ Van Garderen, who starts the day in 15th place. Van Garderen, I think, a little bit disappointed yesterday to miss out on that descent, and his teammate Philippe Gilbert did a lot of pacemaking to try and reduce that gap on the run towards the finish.
But Paul Van Garderen still well placed, only 16 seconds back of Talansky, and there are still so many more mountainous stages to come. We have the uphill time trial on the final day, so 16 seconds can quickly be erased with the type of hilly profiles that are still on the menu the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, there are 28 riders still within 30 seconds of the overall lead. That's how close the race is so far. But tomorrow could be a different ball game, because it's a big mountaintop finish at almost 5,500 meters in altitude. The green jersey there, that is the man who is extremely popular in France, Thomas Vockler. He's won 2 stages in Paris-Nice before. That was back in 2011, and one of those was down in the finishing town of Nice. The virtual leader in the King of the Mountains classification right now is Johan Schopp. You might remember him. He's got 26 points on his little escapade here this afternoon. He was the winner last year of the Tour of Utah.
And Vockler, the first through the first of 2 intermediate sprint points on the day. They will have another one coming up with just over 42 kilometers left to go on the stage. And Johan Schopp has also won a stage of the Giro d'Italia in the past, and he's one of the leaders of the IAM cycling team. And by trying to win the King of the Mountains jersey at this race, if he's able to accomplish that, that would go a long way towards accomplishing the team goal of getting a wild card to the Tour de France this summer.
48 kilometres, 30 miles left to race. The gap now down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. It was at one stage up to 4 minutes and 10 seconds, but it's the presence of the Frenchman Thomas Vockler in that leading group of 7 riders that's got the main field ripping themselves to pieces. Look at that long line. The hammer is being put down by Team Garmin here this afternoon. They've got the overall leader, Andrew Talansky, and they want to pull back Thomas Vockler before those final 2 climbs of the day.
Talansky's biggest day of his career with the stage win yesterday. He's the leader of this race. This is going to be the toughest day so far. What do you think about his chances of defending the yellow jersey?
Well, he's got a very strong, solid team around him. I don't think today the challenge will come to Talansky. I think it's more going to be tomorrow, because tomorrow is a massive big mountain top finish. But he will have to be attentive as we look at the back here, the rider there, just sitting with number 125 on his back, and he's the rider who comes from Team Saxo, and that's Michael Morkov, who we saw attacking a lot last year in the Tour de France, and then riding on the velodrome in the Olympic Games in London.
29 miles left to go on stage number 4, and the gap from our 7-man breakaway to the field now hovering right around 1.5 minutes. Andrew Talansky, the new leader at Paris-Nice, but guys like Richie Porte and TJ Van Garderen both within 20 seconds looking to hunt him down. Paris-Nice on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. This is the year you stop saying, "This is the year." By BMC, who is giving away a trip to the 2013 Tour of Flanders or Paris-Roubaix and a brand new BMC bike. Register at www.bmc-switzerland.com/Spring Classics. And by X Endurance, the greatest athletic discovery since tennis shoes. The wind is blowing out on the course today as the riders come up on the second of 2 intermediate sprints on the course with a lead of 125 over the main field. These are our 7 men in the break today, including Gianni Meersman, who's with the Omega Pharma Quick-Step team. He actually won this very same stage last year, stage 4 of Paris-Nice in 2012, a day that had 5 climbs on the profile. And today we have 7 altogether.
That's Gianni Meersman there, wearing number 115 in the pale white and blue jersey for Omega Pharma Quick-Step. He's a very good sprinter, in fact, and he's quite happy to get himself into this breakaway. A little bit of a contretemps there for number 228, and that was Johan Schopp. He'll be very happy at the end of this stage, because he will be wearing the leader's jersey in the King of the Mountains classification. But with that time gap now coming down to 1 minute and 25 seconds, Thomas Vockler is no longer the leader on the road, but they'll want to catch him, because they know that Vockler is the kind of rider who, once it gets down to those final 2 second category climbs on the run towards the finish, he's still got the power to go clear.
And leading the way through that second intermediate sprint, this is back with the main field that is in pursuit, and several different teams at the front. You have Cofidis in the red, Astana in the light blue, Movistar in the dark blue, and then Garmin Sharp also in the light blue colors. Caught a glimpse of the yellow jersey and Andrew Talansky about 6-7 wheels from the front. So no one team doing all of the pacemaking right now.
I also noticed the big figure of Johan van Summeren there. We get a chance to see the yellow jersey. What a day it is for that young man. Andrew Talansky leading his own compatriot TJ Van Garderen by 16 seconds. Some of the other Americans there lost a little bit more time, but they're team helpers.
Americans altogether coming to Paris-Nice this year, and Jacob Rath is the only one who has pulled out to this point. And 2 of those Americans, Talansky and Van Garderen, still very much in the picture for the overall race win. Talansky, of course, leading things, and Van Garderen 16 seconds back.
Let's get into the grippy part of the course now as they start to get to around about 26 miles to go to the finish. This is a breakaway that's got big firepower. They don't like to let a big breakaway of 6 or 7 riders get clear, because they've got a little bit more chance of survival than a group of 3 or 4 who will tire at the end of a long stage like this. Today's stage, 124 miles of racing, 199 kilometres. But I still think that we'll have a little bit of a showdown when we come to those final 2 second category climbs. They both run in at around about 3 kilometres in length. One's at 8% in gradient, the other one is 7% in gradient. So pretty tough climbs on the run in towards the end of what's going to be a 5-hour day.
Weather much better today than it was yesterday. The roads are dry, partly sunny skies, temperature rather cool, but much more pleasant conditions for the riders today.
It's also been a very fast stage as well. It started off in the first hour of racing, 36.5 kilometres an hour, and the reason for that was because it was hilly. The second hour, 44 kilometres an hour, or 27 miles an hour, and then slowing down again in the third part of the course to about 19 miles an hour. That's an indication of just how rough and heavy this race has been. Now look here at the Garmin Sharp riders. You can see Johan van Sommer in the blue there, riding in front of his teammate Andrew Talansky, and riding alongside him in the white jersey, champion of Germany, that's Fabian Wegmann.
Andrew Talansky, born in New York, grew up in Miami, went to college in North Carolina, now spends his days either living in Girona, Spain during the season or in Napa Valley, California during the off-season. That's where he did a lot of his winter training this year and spending time with his new fiancée as well.
Well, Girona, Spain has really become the hometown, if you like, for a lot of American cyclists to make their base, but very much Garmin Sharp have their base there to keep the riders together throughout the whole of the season. This is the man who led the King of the Mountains at the start of today, Martin Kaiser of Vacances-Soleil, but at the end of today, it'll be the first day that Vacances-Soleil do not lead that competition.
Yeah, Bert-Jan Lindemann took the very first King of the Mountains jersey, passed it over to his teammate Martin Kaiser yesterday, but now Johan Schopp of the IAM cycling team has accrued a lot of mountains points today, and he's on his way to wearing the polka dot jersey tomorrow.
161, you just notice every time it slows down, it's Thomas Vockler who comes to the front just to whip up the pacemaking. Nice to see the rider in the orange jersey as well. That's Romain Sicard. In 2009, he was a World Under-23 road racing champion. He had a lot of problems and injuries, but now this year he seems to be getting back onto form.
So just inside of 40K, that's 25 miles remaining in stage number 4. The margin at 120 from our 7-man breakaway to the main field. Our penultimate climb, starting with 26 kilometers left to go on the stage. 2 climbs still to go here on day 5. Saturday, March 16th, Formula One arrives for the first time on the networks of NBC Universal. The 2013 season starts down under with the Formula One Rolex Australian Grand Prix. And that's Saturday, March 16th on the NBC Sports Network. These are our leaders, the head of the course, the Tête de la Course, as it is known in France. Largest breakaway we've seen at this year's Paris-Nice, 7 riders strong, as Thomas Vockler is carrying his lunch in his teeth, Paul.
Well, again, this man has been, I think, recommended to Hollywood because of the grimaces he manages to put on when he gets himself into a breakaway and the positions he manages to achieve on a bike. I think there he was trying to resemble Quasimodo out of the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Of course, Vockler first came to fame back in the 2004 Tour de France, defended the yellow jersey for some 10 days, won a couple of mountain stages before finally giving it up. But ever since then, he's become one of the best stories in French cycling and certainly a fan favorite in this country.
Yeah, well, it was last year. He won himself 2 stages, one into Bellegarde sur Valzerine, and he was happy enough just winning one. But later on, he got a very, very good stage into the mountain resort of Luchon. That's him there in the green jersey, still with a packet of biscuits stuck into his mouth. Romain Sicard, the rider, I think we'll talk a lot about this year. He was a winner of the Tour de l'Avenir, ahead of a certain TJ Van Garderen, by the way, from the United States, by a single second, and that was back in 2009.
Still 2 climbs to go over, both Category 2 ascents. The next one starts at 26K from the finish. The final one will start with just inside of 12K remaining. They're both 3K climbs at over 6%. So they've already done 5 climbs to this point, as we see what's happening over in Italy. Tirreno Adriatico going on concurrently with Paris-Nice, as it does every year, and it was Matthew Goss winning in the sprint. Mark Cavendish was 5th, and Paul, by all accounts, Cav was not happy with how the sprint unfolded.
Well, it's always difficult, you know, when you move across to a new team. He's got to learn a completely new strategy when it comes down to the sprints. He's got to learn a completely new team train. Funnily enough, Matthew Goss used to be one of the lead-out men for Mark Cavendish a couple of years ago, but he's moved to different pastures to try and become a leader in his own right. And I think Cavendish, he's sure to get it right a little bit further in the future. Let's not forget, he is the most prolific winner on the international circuit this year, with Andre Greipel with 5 wins to his credit, and it's not even the end of March.
Both Greipel and Cavendish racing in Tirreno Adriatico this year. A lot of the other sprinters choosing to come to Paris-Nice. We saw them battling it out early in this race, and now the flat stages are all in the rearview mirror. We have mountains most of the rest of the way as we head into the weekend, and then the final time trial is also uphill on the final day of racing.
Just might have noticed there, Monsieur Dupont, Hubert Dupont from AG2R, eating. That's very important, especially in the early season events, to keep eating very little and often throughout the race, because you burn up actually more calories in the earlier races because it's just that little bit colder. So you need more calories to keep yourself warm, as well as producing the energy to keep yourself going forward very fast indeed. Now it's Team Lamprey have come to the front now to put a little bit of pressure on the peloton.
And Lamprey, really the first team that we've seen come to the front collectively as one and get things organized to set the pace. Before, it was a smattering of different teams, but they've primarily been here for their sprinter Alessandro Patacchi. They do have the former Giro d'Italia winner Michele Scarponi on their team. Is this some kind of a move for him, perhaps?
Well, I think Scarponi's moved up a little bit in the overall standings. He'll be looking to move up a little bit further as well, with the fact that we've got these two tricky second category climbs on the run in towards the finish. I think the peloton believes that there will be a breaking up again, as we saw yesterday over the final climb of the day, into a group of about 30 or 40 riders because of the terrain on the running down towards the finish. 35 kilometres now to go down to the finish line, 21.5 miles of racing, and the gap now is very manageable at 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And just about 7 miles away from starting the second to last climb of the day. Our 7 riders in the breakaway still very motivated, but their margin is coming down closer to 1 minute now after reaching a high of 4 earlier in the stage, with Lamprey on the front of the field in pursuit. Just over the halfway point in the 71st edition of Paris-Nice, brought to you by BMC. And today's stage 4, 124 miles. 4 days down, 4 to go, including today's day number 5. And still 2 climbs for the riders to conquer. Both of them Category 2 ascents, and the next one coming up shortly, starting at 26 kilometers left to go to the finish. And now the gap to our 7-man breakaway has come down to an even minute.
Yes, just 19 miles to go to the finish. When we get to the bottom of this descent, we'll leave the very beautiful touristic department of France of the Ardèche behind us and move into the department of the Drôme, which is normally a little bit flatter. Now, if you like canoe and kayak and you enjoy that, this is one of the best parts of France to actually come to. They have a lot of canoe kayak training camps here during the summer months.
How many kayaking training camps have you been to in your day?
Well, I've been to a couple of the Olympic Games and watched there, and that's pretty exciting, you know. And I know a lot of the kayakers actually enjoy watching the sport of professional cycling as well. And every now and again, when we go into a certain part of the Tour de France, they'll send me emails to say this course is good and this course is not so good.
I can see you ripping it up in the white water. See how narrow the chute is between the hills as the road snakes along. Very narrow, twisting, technical. And that's what's in store for the riders on the upcoming climbs as well.
Well, because of the next 2 climbs, that's why there's a big pressure being put on the main field. You see how long that snaking line of the peloton is as it goes down this valley. Everybody wants to keep up to the front because they know what happened yesterday. A lot of riders are scalding a little bit because they lost out time on the descent rather than the uphill part of the course.
We've had a different leader every day of the race so far. Andrew Talansky, the 4th different rider to wear the yellow jersey. But, Paul, he's really our first rider who is now capable of holding that yellow jersey all the way to the finish if he rides properly.
Well, absolutely. When you get congratulations coming from Bernard Hinault on the podium at the end of the race, a former winner of the Tour de France on 5 occasions, you know that he has got respect. And in fact, even the French newspapers ran an article this morning talking about Andrew Talansky, saying, don't forget, 12 months ago, he finished 2nd overall in the Tour of Romandie to a certain Bradley Wiggins, who went on to win the Tour de France.
Now, the first few riders to wear yellow at this year's Paris-Nice, they were all sprinters, so they knew they would give up the jersey at some point. But now Talansky, since he's claimed that yellow jersey, says he intends on winning this race. In fact, he says that after he took his off-season break, when he got back on the bike last November, this was the race he started thinking about the most. He's just behind the Lamprey team in pink at the front of the main field. Talansky part of the growing Garmin Sharp team. And they are the subject of today's Athlete Profile presented by Michelob Ultra.
In the space of 5-6 years, we've gone from being the kind of the renegade, almost rebel-like team with our attitude and from the way we looked to the way we acted to our very strong anti-doping stance, and what was a bit of an anomaly, if you like, the way we operated has become very much the norm in the sport, and the fact we actually win big races, I think, is the icing on the cake.
After the 2011 tour, there was a lot of pressure on the team to replicate what we achieved in that tour. And then going into the 2012 tour, it was playing carnage. When all the bad stuff happens, we really stuck together as a team, and I believe it or not, with the atmosphere at the dinner table that night when pretty much the whole team crashed, we were just laughing and joking. Just almost out of disbelief that all this stuff had happened.
It was pretty hard psychologically, but most of the guys were so battered up physically as well. The team was just in a really bad place. And I think, I mean, for me as Zabriskie, just started having a lot of fun, you know, trying to get in breaks and racing hard and sort of making the most out of a bad situation. And I wouldn't have been in a position to win a stage if that bad luck hadn't happened.
We have a better team, a very strong team. Maybe we don't have one leader, but we have 5 or 6 cards we can play, and who all can win.
Talansky gets position, and Andrew Talansky gets the stage win!
This team has put a lot of belief in me. They sent a team here only for me. There's no sprinters. Everything was for me here at Paris-Nice. To win the stage, to take the jersey now, it feels good. It's paying them back for their hard work and the belief they've had in me. I'm excited to win the stage and excited to be in the jersey.
Well, they call him the Pit Bull, and judging by his reaction after winning the stage yesterday, you can see why that is Andrew Talansky's nickname.
Well, the reason they call him the Pit Bull is once he gets his teeth into something, he doesn't want to let go, and he's going to be a very hard man to dislodge from the top end of the overall standings here at Paris-Nice. He only leads the race by 3 seconds currently from André Grivko, but I tell you one thing, if he goes down to the climb up to the Col d'Ez in the individual time trial on Sunday, I think he's got an incredibly good chance of winning this bike race. And going back, you talked earlier about 4 different leaders of the race so far. Well, the average age of the 4 different leaders is only 24 years of age, which again I think is quite remarkable.
And that's exactly the age of Andrew Talansky. He's 24 and a third-year professional. He's in this main field that we're looking down on now, near the front. And they are under a minute behind our 7-man breakaway with just over 28 kilometers left to go. And that's about 18 miles to the finish and just about 2K away from the start of the second to last climb on the stage.
Well, you can see here the Lamprey riders in the pink and blue jerseys there. They're trying to pace their man. They've got 2 riders here I think they can look after this afternoon. One of them, of course, is Scarponi, former winner of the Giro d'Italia, but they've got a youngster on their squad too, Diego Ulissi, who was 2 times World Junior Road Racing Champion. In the white jersey there, watch out for TJ Van Garderen. He's keeping a very close eye, and he's being looked after today by the world champion, Philippe Gilbert.
And our leader, Andrew Talansky, is on the right-hand side of the road in the yellow jersey. Doesn't have any teammates around him at the moment. Somewhat isolated, but staying where he needs to be near the front of the main field, led by Lamprey. Trailing our breakaway by only 45 seconds now.
Head Sweats, the world leader in performance headwear, is a proud sponsor for Paris-Nice. Check out our new Head Sweats University Collegiate Collection and show your school spirit while training. Use the code Paris-Nice13 at headsweats.com and receive 25% off your next online purchase on all Head Sweats headwear. Restrictions apply.
As we bring you back to the race to the sun, 45 seconds. The margin from the main field to the breakaway. And just about 1 kilometer away from the start of the penultimate climb, a Category 2 at 8%.
Well, they're all going to try and get to the start of this climb in the first 10 or 15 places. You can see Philippe Gilbert there. In fact, he lies ahead of TJ Van Garderen in the overall standings, but as the world champion is preparing the one-day classics next month, he's looking after the interests of the American here, and he will be the man to try and place TJ Van Garderen there. You might notice him in the white jersey. He's wearing the white jersey as the best young rider, when in fact that's Talansky. He's in second place.
TJ Van Garderen, the first American to wear the King of the Mountains jersey, best young rider at last year's Paris-Nice, where he also finished 5th overall, and then went on to also wear the white jersey at the Tour de France before finishing in 2nd at the USA Pro Challenge late last summer in Colorado. Now comes to this year's Paris-Nice hoping to win his first ever professional stage race.
Well, this is the climb of the Côte de Talansky, a second category climb, and you can see why there will be a huge battle to get into the first 10 or 15 places here, because this road is very, very narrow. We're now moving into the department of the Drôme. It's renowned for these very rough roads. It's very difficult to get good rolling resistance. Getting onto the front there, you can see the riders from Astana are trying to get into control. 3 kilometres to the top of the climb. That's 1.8 miles.
So, Paul, this is the second to last climb. This is the breakaway, but at the front of the main field a moment ago, we saw Talansky on the right-hand side of the road in the yellow jersey. He wasn't with any teammates surrounding him. Would you be concerned because of that?
Oh, most certainly would, especially when you can see that Team BMC have got 2 very strong riders up alongside TJ Van Garderen. But the way Talansky won that race yesterday was with complete confidence. He made the move at the right time. He's got the head and shoulders on him of a seasoned professional bike rider. The man setting the pace here is Hubert Dupont, the rider from AG2R. And you can see the damage already at the back end of the main field. Riders slipping away very, very quickly.
This is Diego Ulissi of the Lamprey team getting a small gap over the front of the main field as they twist their way up this climb. This climb itself, 3K long. That's just inside of 2 miles altogether. 7-man breakaway staying together for the moment. Nobody attacking one another.
This is Morkov at the bottom here, at the back I should say, 125. He's better known as a track rider. He's had gold and silver medals at the World Championships on the track. And there's Thomas Vockler. This is a move to be expected from the little Frenchman. And there he goes with 25 kilometres to go. Now, this is what I was expecting from a man like Vockler. Get into the breakaway. Once you get to the final 2 climbs, use those as a launch pad. Now, once he starts to kick in his turbo now, Thomas Vockler, it's going to be a hard man to pull back into the race this afternoon. 25.5 kilometres to go to the finish and a 45-second advantage. These man, I remember when he turned professional, he really has beefed up a lot over the last 10 years or so. And look at that face. It's a face that he knows how to pull.
One of the best faces in the sport of cycling. He's always got some kind of animation in his expression. And the only rider staying with him at the moment is AG2R's Hubert Dupont, the 32-year-old Frenchman who was actually born near here in Lyon.
Yep, but Vockler takes no prisoners. As you can see now, it's up to Astana controlling the front end of the peloton, getting into the middle. Some riders from Orica Green Edge, the damage at the back. Poor old Ian Boswell, number 2 there. He puts a lot of pacemaking and a lot of work in the first part of the race because he's learning. He's an apprentice, if you like, in the sport of professional cycling at the moment. And he expends a lot of energy in the first part of the race. And that's what happens at the end. You pay for it.
Now a rider from Movistar at the front.
This is Nairo Quintana. He's a Colombian rider and also a very big star of the future. Colombia, we've talked about the renaissance of French cycling. In the 1980s, Colombian cycling was on the top of the world, and I think it's starting to come back again. We've seen the Colombian riders really riding well in races like the US Pro Challenge in Colorado in the month of August last year, and they're putting together themselves into a very good international team. But Quintana there rides, in fact, for the Spanish squad Movistar.
All right, so he's brought back, and now riders from several different teams near the front. That is Tom Bonin in the red, yellow, and black. We saw him at the front of the field a lot the last 2 days.
Number 36 going backwards there was Mark Renshaw, also suffering a bit there. Number 5, Danny Pate, again, one of the workers of Team Sky. He's done his pacemaking and his work in the first part of this race. Now it's just a question of survival. Get to the finish as best as you can. Winner of one of the stages there as well, Marcel Kittel. And Elio Viviani just on the far side. This is not the kind of terrain that the sprinters enjoy.
Not at all. Not a particularly long climb, as you see Martin Kaiser in the polka dot jersey of Vacan Soleil, who will lose that King of the Mountains jersey by the end of this stage. Now it's for Thomas Vockler at the front. He's got about 500 meters to the top of the climb. This is back near the front end of the main field. They still have some more climbing to do.
Well, that's what's scary about a Colombian climber. He can attack and get caught and attack again. That's exactly what Quintana did there as he drops now back into 3rd position.
And now we're back to the front for Vockler, who's coming up towards the summit.
Well, although he's made the move, when you look at the time gap, it's now down to 30 seconds. That's an indication of just how fast they're going behind in the main field. 23 kilometres to go. That's about 13.5 miles of racing. Now,
Andrew Talansky is near the front. You can see him at the bottom of the screen in the yellow jersey. Doesn't have any teammates around him. And now a couple of the Euskaltel riders in the orange and black go into the front.
Well, that's Sicard on the left-hand side. He's actually getting caught from that leading group of riders that he was in. He was in the 7-man leading group, which formed in the early part of the race. The long shadows now of the early spring sunshine as we get down towards the latter part of the afternoon. Now, here's this dangerous move, because that, in second position, was Sylvain Chavanel.
And Sylvain Chavanel, very dangerous at only 4 seconds off of Andrew Talansky's lead. He is fourth on the general classification. Hubert Dupont in the white, just ahead of Vockler in the green, at the very front on stage number 4 right now. They have a 30-second lead on this group at the front end of the main field. And just under 23 kilometers, 14 miles left to go to the finish.
Over on the left-hand side, that's Jérôme Coppel. Rode very well in the Tour de France last year, but swapped teams to come across to the French squad Cofidis. Looking a little bit ragged. Nobody can take control of the peloton. Sitting in the middle in about 9th or 10th position is the yellow jersey. And that, of course, is Talansky. 500 meters to go for the summit for the two riders here. And I wonder if it'll be Dupont gets himself the maximum points. And, in fact, he's cracked Thomas Vockler here just before the summit of the climb. But look how Vockler reacts. He comes straight back.
Trying to find that second wind to get onto the wheel of Dupont. 500 meters going uphill when it's the 6th climb of the day can take a long time, and if you go too early, you can burn yourself out very quickly.
The one thing you have to appreciate about a rider like Thomas Vockler in the green jersey on the far side from Europcar there, he rides on courage, he rides on instinct and on guts. He was getting dropped, he was right in the red zone there, and he said, no, I'm not going to give up, and he got his second wind and he fought his way back. It really is an amazing sight to see him do that.
Now Vockler trying to get a sense of how close this group is. No team in control. All the different jerseys spread out across the road at the front. Andrew Talansky in the yellow jersey is on the left-hand side of the screen. That's the right-hand side of the road. And again, without teammates, but staying close to the front where he needs to be.
Well, in front of him in the black jersey, that's Richie Porte, who moved up well in the overall standings yesterday, up into 7th place. He's just 7 seconds off the overall lead. He's the #1 leader for Team Sky here. He wears #1 because Sky are the defending champions. Bradley Wiggins won this race last year, but he's decided not to participate. And all of the time, the Sylvain Chavanel, the former French national champion, he's very, very close to the front. Now look at this. He was in difficulty a few moments ago, and there he gets himself maximum points at the top of the climb. Hats off to Thomas Vockler.
6th climb of the day. Vockler goes over the summit first, and now on the descent with one more climb to go. This main field still climbing. Andrew Talansky in the thick of things in the yellow jersey, and also near the front in the white jersey. He's actually just off to the left of Talansky is American TJ Van Garderen. He's wearing white sunglasses. He's 16 seconds behind Talansky in the overall standings.
You see this acceleration up towards the top of the climb now. It's because they know they're going over the summit. They're not going for the points there. They're not concerned about that. They want to position themselves for the descent because they'll cast their minds back to yesterday knowing that the decision actually happened on the descent. This is a little bit further back. You can see a lot of riders in difficulty.
3 of the Cannondale riders in the green. And the gaps forming behind the main field as they typically do on a climb late in a stage.
Well, sitting in the middle there's no damage amongst the overall leaders, and as we see Andrew Talansky looking very comfortable, this could be a chance for Thomas Vockler to move clear on the dangerous descent.
So one climb still to go, 13 miles to the finish. Dupont and Vockler out front and leading by just about half a minute right now on stage 4. Tomorrow at 12 a.m. Eastern, the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra continues with Stage 5 of Paris-Nice, the biggest mountain and first summit finish of the race. It's Stage 5 of Paris-Nice tomorrow at 12 a.m. Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. And one climb still left on today's Stage 4, our breakaway, leading by just over a half minute. Thomas Vockler was the first over the last climb, followed by Hubert Dupont. And now at the front of the main field, which we're looking at right now, BMC is starting to send their riders to the front in support of TJ Van Garderen, who's wearing a white jersey today. The American sitting 16 seconds off of the race lead.
Yes, he's well placed at the moment, but I think a little bit upset by the fact that he lost 7 seconds to Andrew Talansky yesterday on the run down towards the finish, plus the 10-second time bonus that the other American picked up along the way. So today he will try and make amends. They're obviously planning something here. There are 3 riders from BMC right in front of the white jersey on the shoulders of TJ Van Garderen. But behind Van Garderen, a man who is always present when it comes down to the crunch times is Sylvain Chavanel.
Chavanel, the Frenchman, has never won Paris-Nice. He's won a couple of stages. He's finished 3rd and on the podium, but has never won the race to the sun. He's in good position this year, sitting at just 4 seconds back of Talansky's lead right now.
Well, his big test is going to come tomorrow because a couple of years ago he actually lost the overall lead in Paris-Nice on the Montagne de Lourdes, which is the climb, the summit finish that we're going up tomorrow. You just might have noticed the flags there. Well, it's giving the riders a very fast tailwind. A couple of riders tailed off. Surprisingly, though, here is the world champion, number 101, Philippe Gilbert.
He's in that rainbow jersey. We saw him chasing back earlier by himself. Now he's got some company, but still off the back of the main field.
I think he may well just get back in before the start of the climb, but he's going to have to scuttle up the outside very quickly if he wants to get himself into a good position for the start of the next climb.
So the 7th and final climb of the day will start just inside of 12 kilometers from the finish. It's a 3K climb at 6.5%. The final of 7 climbs on the day in a Category 2. So still a ways away from that climb, but a lot of these twisting and turning roads between here and then.
Well, the 2 leaders still surviving. Hubert Dupont on the front in the white jersey, followed by Thomas Vockler. They're still holding on to a 35-second advantage, but there's a couple of riders coming back. That'll be Meersman in 1st position and Johan Schopp in 4th position. He was 3rd over the top of the last climb, the Col de Talansky.
And it's not just the climbs that could be a factor today. Inside of the final 2K from the finish, there are several turns. There's a roundabout that they have to navigate with 1 kilometer left to go. Also a tunnel that the riders will go through in the final kilometer of racing, leading down into the finishing town of Saint-Vallier, in the same place where Cadel Evans won the same stage in the Dauphiné Libéré a year ago.
Well, you might wonder then why Team BMC are riding like this at the front end of the main field, because Cadel Evans was on this squad. These riders will all know, they will have thought this through. There's a mechanical incident on the left-hand side, a rider from Euskaltel-Euskadi. Having a flat tyre at the wrong time. See how narrow these roads are. They're very dangerous and technical roads, these, but if you're a good bike handler, they're a dream to ride down.
Back to our leaders. Some gaps forming on the descent, which is typical. Anytime you have 7 or more riders in a breakaway, you're on descent, the gaps will form because of the varying rate of speed that riders will choose to go down the hill.
Also, it's a little bit easier in a breakaway group like this because you're not queuing up to go around the corners, and especially when you've got a rider like Thomas Vockler, who's a very good descender. But he's been shown a very clean pair of wheels there by Dupont, who's riding the white jersey just around the corner, snaking their way down this very technical descent. You've got to keep a very close eye on the rider right in front of you and try and follow his line. In fact, you've got to trust the professional riders alongside you to make the right line around these corners.
Just about a dozen miles left to go and 1 climb remaining on stage number 4. The breakaway holding on to a lead of just under a half minute on the main field. And coverage of Paris-Nice on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. This is the year you stop saying, this is the year. By Giant Bicycles, the world leader in cycling technology and craftsmanship. And by Louis Garneau. Louis Garneau is the cycling solution. Visit us at www.louisgarneau.com. This is the Epic Cycle Series presented by Michelob Ultra. Stage 4, Day 5 of Paris-Nice, brought to you by BMC. Steve Schlanger alongside Paul Sherwin as the race heads east into Saint-Vallier today. And the standings coming in to this Stage 4, Andrew Talansky, the American, our 4th leader so far in this year's Race to the Sun by only 3 seconds. But Paul, you can go 15 riders deep and still find guys within 16 seconds of Talansky's lead, and beyond that, almost 30 riders are within a minute.
Yep, this race is far from over, and there's still a lot of very hard racing to come. I still think we're going to have a little bit of a sort out when we come over this final climb of today's stage. 7 climbs have been on today's stage. The final one is the Côte de la Cizeron. It's a climb of 3 kilometres at 6.7%, and these 4 riders are in the sights now of the main field, just 25 seconds. And as we look at the profile there, you can see that little ripple just at the end. There is only 1 climb left to go, but looking over the top of the profile, look at the damage that's been done to the main field because of the acceleration of BMC at the front.
And in the white jersey, 4th wheel from the front, that is TJ Van Garderen, the American for BMC, has 3 teammates in front of him, 16 seconds behind his fellow American, Andrew Talansky. Talansky staying near the front as well, but he is without teammates, and it's going to be interesting, Paul, as we go up the final climb and then have the tricky descent. What Talansky is going to do, he's going to have some interesting tactical decisions he may have to make if he's isolated and by himself.
Well, another thing to notice as well is he has to make sure that he doesn't have a mechanical incident, because if you might have noticed just before, there's only 2 cars behind this group of riders that are very, very split up on the running towards the finish. One of them is the race referee's car, and the other one is the neutral service vehicle. All of the team cars, because the race is split up so much, are a long, long way further back. So if you've got a mechanical problem at this stage in the game, you could lose chunks of time.
Now the breakaway, just moments away from being gobbled up on the road, it appears. You can see the field in the background. 20 seconds, 15K, just over 9 miles away from the finish.
Well, I think it's a little bit less than that, because I've got it clocked off at around about the 10-second margin. It's all over pretty much, bar the shouting here for these 4 survivors of that very early morning breakaway of 7 riders at one stage who had a 4-minute lead over the main field. It's now a question of throwing out the sandbags at 10 miles to go to the finish, because the big guns have to come out and play once again. I noticed Sylvain Chavanel was in that group behind with TJ Van Garderen and Talansky, but also Peter Velits, his own teammate. Now that's a good thing, a good tactical thing for Team Omega Pharma Quickstep, because they can play the old 1-2.
Now with the break about to be caught, they're just about 2 miles from the start of the final climb. What do you look for going forward the rest of the stage from here?
Well, I think what Andrew Talansky's got to look for is the riders who are around him in the overall standings, because bear in mind, we're in the same situation as we were in yesterday. The 10-second time bonus today could once again be very, very important. Talansky only leads this race by 3 seconds over 2 riders, 4 seconds over Chavanel, and 5 seconds over Gorka Izigur. So it could all change again in the sprint to the line this afternoon.
The time bonuses are 10, 6, and 4 seconds for the first 3 at the finish.
And that's already a very, very small group. Everybody in the groups behind, they're scrambling now, trying to survive, scrambling to try and make contact with the main field, or what remains of the main field, before the start of the final climb. Now, that's not a very good way to start a final climb, because you're already pretty much asphyxiated.
So led by BMC, the reduced main field scoops up what's left of the breakaway. And now this is the front of the race on stage 4.
Well, that's it, as they say in Italian, gruppo compacto, group all together, or in French, échappé terminé. Now, looking back down there, you can see that gap is quite good. Apparently, one of the riders who has been caught out as well is a rider who I was expecting to ride well, and that, of course, is Quintano, the Colombian rider on the Movistar. This is also Javier Moreno from Movistar. He's also trying to get himself back into the bike race this afternoon. As you can see, all the vines are still very, very much starting to push the early shoots in the springtime of this year.
Race heading into southeastern France today, just over the midway point. Today is the first of the final 4 days of racing. Tomorrow, the big summit finish on the Montagne des Leux. Some more mountains to come over the weekend before the uphill time trial should decide it on the final day of racing.
Now, the rider just being told over race radio who's been dropped off the back of the leading group of contenders is Ivan Basso from Team Cannondale. Now, look at the dedication. Now, this is why we always think, oh, there's a crash there. There's a crash at the back. Number 4 has gone down very hard indeed. That's David Lopez. He was one of the riders instrumental yesterday in trying to help Richie Porte get himself the overall lead. And because I was just telling you about the fact that there's no team cars behind, one of his teammates passed a wheel across to this guy who's one of the top riders in his team.
So Lopez now has to chase.
Lopez starts the day in 9th place overall, just looking for 9 seconds, and that was certainly not a great time to have an incident, because as you can see, there's no cars to help anybody get back now, and it's going to be a long, hard chase for Lopez to try and keep his place in the top 10 overall.
And his teammate Richie Porte will want him to get back up in that first group to help him, because he's battling on the general classification, just 7 seconds behind American Andrew Talansky, who is the leader. So the break has been caught. This is the front of the race. A reduced main field now with one climb still to go on stage 4. Saturday at 7:30 Eastern, 2 of Major League Soccer's premier goalkeepers will be on display as Sean Johnson and the Chicago Fire host Matt Reese and the New England Revolution. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. BMC still at the front. What is now a very small main field, but not collectively in strength anymore. Just one rider at the front, followed by Lampre, Astana, Radio Shack, and then the overall race leader, Andrew Talansky of Garmin Sharp, is about 7 or 8 wheels from the front of this group here.
You might have just seen that sign there, Tête de la Course. That's the front end of the bike race, and obviously the race referees believe that none of the riders left behind now are going to find themselves coming back into this race, because the referees' cars come in, the neutral service cars come in, and looking at the size of this group, we've already had a very big, serious sorting out today. Philippe Gilbert is in the group behind, as is Quintana, the rider from Movistar.
This is by far the biggest day of climbing the riders have encountered so far in this year's Paris-Nice. 7 climbs, and about to start the final one here.
Talansky just looking across there. Riding alongside Talansky was in fact the white jersey TJ Van Garderen, the 2 Americans, both 24 years of age, both wondering whether this is going to be their first big breakthrough World Tour victory.
Now, TJ Van Garderen started his season by racing the Tour de San Luis in Argentina back in January, then took a break, so he wasn't overtrained or too fatigued coming to Paris-Nice. That's what he said was his problem a year ago. Andrew Talansky, meanwhile, only 2 days of racing in his legs prior to the start of Paris-Nice because his team's bikes were stolen at the Tour of the Mediterranean about a month ago. And TJ Van Garderen climbing very well at the Tour de San Luis. He was 2nd overall down in Argentina. So some good early season form. Went home to California, did some training after Argentina before coming back to Europe for this Paris-Nice event.
Well, moving up into 4th position there is Andreas Kloden. Behind him is teammate Maxime Montfort. Andreas Kloden, a former winner of Paris-Nice a couple of years ago. There he is, just popping through there in the black shirt, black shoulders of Team Radio Shack, and sitting very comfortably in 5th or 6th position, the yellow jersey of Andrew Talansky. But there's a lot of riders starting to queue up behind him. I just noticed Thomas Lovquist is there. But the ever-present Sylvain Chavanel, I just believe that one day or another, Chavanel will be looking to try and get himself the overall lead in this bike race. To do so, he needs to get himself inside of the top 3 at the end of the day.
Chavanel, always popular in his home country of France, almost a decade older than Andrew Talansky. How much could his experience play into his chances to win the overall GC this year?
Well, I think the most important thing is to have good, strong teammates up alongside you. And at the moment, I have to say, Talansky is looking very, very isolated. But this is not the Tour de France. So this is the preparation for the Tour de France. This is where you learn how to operate as a team. And that's the most important thing for him. And also to learn the responsibility of being the leader of a team, which I think last year, if we looked at the performance of TJ Van Garderen in the Tour de France, he was able to learn and nurture his experience from his team leader, Cadel Evans, who'd already won the Tour de France a couple of years previously.
Now, Richie Porte of Team Sky is also somewhat isolated without teammates near the front. He's a big GC player, as of course is TJ Van Garderen of BMC. He still has teammates around him.
Well, this is a very select group now. It's starting to line itself up for what I think is going to be a big showdown tomorrow with the massive mountaintop finish to the Mont Chandeleur. It was the nail in the coffin 2 years ago for a certain Sylvain Chavanel, as we're now around about 1 kilometre from the top of the final climb of today's stage. But there's a lot more climbing to come in Paris-Nice before we get to the Col d'Ez on Sunday.
Category 2 at 6.5% that they're on right now. But when it's the 7th climb of the day, it certainly feels like more than a Cat 2, doesn't it?
Certainly does. That's Ulisi, the rider from Lamprey, sitting in second position there. A very good rider, two-time world champion at the junior level at the sport, and a rider I think Lamprey are starting to nurture to move forward. Just sitting on the back there, Samy Dumoulin, the sprinter. Now, this is Maxime Montfort. Now, I would think he's lost a little bit of time. He was a little bit upset too because he actually crashed in the prologue time trial. So he's trying to make amends for that, but he's also trying to toughen the race up for his teammate, Andreas Kloden, who is in there.
Kloden was the winner in the 2000 edition of Paris-Nice. And now his teammate is up the road. Montfort, with the breakaway having been caught, is now the leader out front by himself. And we'll see who responds to this attack. 9K left to the finish. That's 5.5 miles.
Well, look how that's strung out that group now. A very, very rapid and violent response to the acceleration of Maxime Montfort there. And coming across, well, not a surprise to see Omega Pharma Quickstep. And in second position there is Sylvain Chavanel. It's Vandenberg on the front, but he's trying to set this up for Chavanel. Looks over his shoulder to see what sort of damage is being done. What they want to do is put pressure on Andrew Talansky. Richie Porte in the black jersey there with Sky. Now, this is a problem at the back. This is Dumoulin. He's not going anywhere today.
Samuel Dumoulin going backwards as Chavanel now riding at the front. And it's interesting to note Omega Pharma Quickstep had a rider in that early 7-man breakaway, Gianni Meersman, and as a result, they didn't have to chase. They didn't have to use a lot of energy trying to bring back that breakaway at the time, so perhaps that team could be fresher here near the finish.
Look at this now, Talansky having to play a very careful and cagey game, looking at all these accelerations. We're over the top of the climb, so the climb is out of the way. Richie Porte looks over his shoulder. When they're doing that at this state in the game, they're trying to see if there's any damage. This man was the animator of today, 161, Thomas Vockler. He's now slipping back, and he'll have to just limit his losses on the run in towards the finishing line.
This where it gets to be a very tactical, sophisticated, strategic game for Andrew Talansky in that yellow jersey. Has to watch the attacks, keep his head on a swivel.
He's got to be very, very careful because there are two riders from Omega Pharma Quickstep in this. Sylvain Chavanel, and he's got his teammate Peter Velits just sitting right on the wheel of Andrew Talansky at the moment. This is going to be very, very grippy over this last 8 kilometres of the race. Just 5 miles of racing. We're not going to be in the saddle now for very much more than, I would say, 10 minutes.
Saxo Bank and Sky going up the right-hand side of the road. That's Nicholas Roach.
It's hard to, first time I've seen Nicholas Roach riding in his new team colours this season. He raced for many, many years for AG2R. Now he's lined himself up for Saxo Tinkoff Banks, and he realises everybody is sitting on the rivet. There's a dangerous man also moving up there. That's Andre Grivko in third position. The pressure must really be on the shoulders now of Andrew Talansky. As we look back, there he is, still in control. On his wheel, Peter Velits.
So Talansky makes his way up to that front group. No panic from the American. But others losing contact because of the pace at the front. Coming up on the final 7 kilometers, just over 4 miles. Davide Malacarne suffering at the back for Europcar. But our leader Talansky near the front. Five kilometers left to go on stage number 4. That is 3 miles of racing on this 5th day at the Race to the Sun. It has been a sunny day, and now it's a tactical game for these riders at the front, including in the yellow jersey, our overall leader, American Andrew Talansky.
Yeah, but Sylvain Chavanel is doing everything he can to blow this race apart here this afternoon. But number 165 there, David Malacarne, started the day in 3rd place overall. Well, this is Louis Vistre. It looks like he lost it going around one of the corners there. We didn't hear anything at all about that on race radio. So anyway, it's back to the concentration of the last 4.5 kilometres. In control today. They were a little bit rattled yesterday, Team BMC, but they're trying to turn the tables around for their man TJ Van Garderen. But the 3rd place rider overall, David Malacarne, could be losing his position inside of the top 5.
This is back out to the front. It's downhill most of the way in the final 5K. There are several turns in the last 2 kilometers, a tunnel at 1K, and then a sharp right-hand turn at 500 meters to go that's more than 90 degrees, so watch out for that as well.
Nicholas Roach in the dark blue jersey, forcing Sylvain Chavanel to come back and nail this group back together. Chavanel knows that if he can finish inside of the top 3 today and get himself a time bonus, he could be the new leader of the race overall tonight, and that would be our 5th new leader since we left Paris just 5 days ago.
Time bonuses at the finish again as Louis Westra chases back on, 6th in the general classification, 6 seconds behind our leader Talansky.
Don't forget, 2nd overall last year, so a very big favourite. He will have to do a big power ride to get himself back in here this afternoon. A little bit of disorganisation now as nobody wants to take control. They're all starting to think now about their positions in the overall standings and the possibility of a stage victory. But as you said so rightly, it is a very tricky run in. There's lots of twists and turns. That tunnel you were talking about, it pops the riders out at 500 metres to go and then straight into a right-hand bend. That's not the same tunnel as one further down the road, by the way.
A different tunnel that the riders go through very briefly. And riders from several different teams near the front. No one team in full control. No one team with a lot of teammates there in support of a single rider.
Well, Westra there, number 11, he's just managed to make the contact with the main field and got himself back into the bike race here. That's Armel Moinard just sitting on the back from Team BMC. He's done plenty of work for the team this afternoon. He just wants to survive. Well, Malakane, by the way, Race Radio is telling me is 25 seconds off the back of this group. And now if he can't catch back to this group before we get to the finishing line, he will tumble down the overall classification tonight from the 3rd place that he held this morning.
And a Lotto Belisol rider going up the right-hand side of the road. But nobody getting very far. And everybody keeping their heads on a swivel, turning left and right. Very attentive as to where the attacks and counterattacks are going to come from.
Well, TJ Van Garderen in the white jersey there is marking Andrew Talansky, but for me they're sitting a little bit too far back because there's a lot of action going on at the front end of this race. 2 kilometres to go, only about 3 minutes of racing left. And again, Sylvain Chavanel, look at the way he grimaces there, trying to break the stranglehold of this group. He's dreaming of a jersey at the end of the day.
But can anybody get away with under 2K left to go, just over a mile left to the finish? Now Chavanel sits up. Everybody waits to see where the next attack is going to come from. More riders joining from the back as the pace slows somewhat.
Well, that's Robert Hessink now making a move. He was very upset yesterday. He and his teammate Wilco Kelderman, they lost a bit of time on the running down towards the finish. This is an opportunity for Team Blanco to pull themselves back and get something out of the race here this afternoon. He tumbled down the overall classification yesterday, right down to 32nd place overall when he lost around about a minute on the running towards the finishing line. But they're slowly trying to claw him back.
Blanco has had a very good season. This team has already won 10 races. Hessink's big season goal is the Giro d'Italia in May, and now getting somewhat of a gap here over the others. With 1 kilometre left to go as they hit the red kite, just over a half mile, and there's the roundabout we talked about.
Well, they're all scrambling now to try and catch him, and there is the tunnel I was telling you about. When they pop out of that tunnel, they'll have a very savage right-hand bend, and there'll be 500 metres before the finishing line.
And you can see the turn coming up.
Can you see the turn? We're all waiting with suspense. Here we are, we're out now. As they make this right-hand sweeping bend, they'll be lining up to 500 metres to go to the finishing line. Katusha are at the front here, trying to lead it out. Behind them is the team from Kazakhstan, Team Astana. There's a rider from Orica Green Edge trying to come across the gap there and make the junction.
And now it looks like it's Maxim Aglinski for Astana, and behind him for Orica Green Edge, that is Michael Albacini. Albacini coming around him, going up alongside the barriers. Albacini, will he be caught as he comes up to the line and looks over his shoulder? And no, Michael Albacini coming from behind Maxim Aglinski to get the stage win on the 5th day of Paris-Nice.
Well, the team had said at the start of the day, we're not counting on Simon Gerrans here at the moment. He's not really on fire just yet, and we will be counting on Michael Albacini, so we should have listened to that advice, because this man always knows how to pop out and get himself a good victory.
He knows how to time it right. Not the fastest in the pure sprinters bunch. He can win from distance. He can win with a well-timed tactical move like he did right there as well.
up alongside his teammate there, the Belgian rider Jens Kukelet. And Malakane has lost himself a huge chunk of time. We had heard over race radio he's 25 seconds behind. By the time he comes up to the finishing line, it's going to be almost a 1 minute margin. He will tumble down from 3rd to just about 30th place overall tonight. That after a very good ride yesterday.
But American Andrew Talansky, finishing with that front group, holds on to the yellow jersey. And he's the first rider in this year's Paris-Nice to hold the overall lead from one day to the next.
Just have a look at this one more time. You can see that's Albacini in 2nd position. He's accelerating up. He gets into the slipstream of the rider in front of him and then just comes straight by. Like it's almost like in NASCAR racing when you come up right behind a guy in the car in front of you and you flip out of his slipstream. It gives you that last little catapult. And look at what the effect that catapult gave to him.
And this is the next group that includes Thomas Vockler, who was in the day's primary breakaway. Philippe Gilbert also here.
And Quintana's the rider on the front, the Colombian rider who Movistar were hoping would ride high in the overall standings. Looks like Gilbert's going to have a little bit of a sprint there, but I think that's just to stretch his legs. The world champion wants to lead this group home, but look at the time. That's the important thing. 1 minute and 55 seconds as they cross the line.
So losing almost 2 minutes. But Andrew Talansky, safe and sound, was without teammates for the final 2 climbs, but still stayed in the front where he needed to be to preserve that yellow jersey, while Michael Albacini, the 32-year-old from Mendrisio, Switzerland, gets the stage win.
Yeah, but 3rd, Peter Velits, that's going to be very important. He'll get himself a 4-second time bonus and move up into the top 5 overall. Talansky, though, 6th on the stage, being very, very attentive.
So stage 4 in the books. Michael Albacini gets the win. Andrew Talansky holds the yellow jersey. We'll see the podiums and talk to the overall race leader, Andrew Talansky, as we continue with our coverage of Paris-Nice. Coverage of Paris-Nice on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by Michelob Ultra. This is the year you stop saying, "This is the year." By BMC, who is giving away a trip to the 2013 Tour of Flanders or Paris-Roubaix and a brand new BMC bike. Register at www.bmc-switzerland.com/Spring Classics. And by American Classic. Like us on Facebook and see more from the American leader in tubeless technology. And here now, our competitive cyclist ride of the day.
Goes to none other than Michael Albacini with a very well-timed sprint. He didn't know that he had the legs, and he admitted after the finish that he thought he was probably the cleverest rider in the group to get himself the competitive cyclist ride of the day.
Albacini with 4 wins a year ago, but this his first win of 2013.
See just on the left-hand side there with the dark sunglasses on, Bernard Hinault, the 5-time winner. Very complimentary yesterday about the ride by Andrew Talansky. And Talansky, I have to say, rode a very, very clever tactical ride on the running towards the finish, especially when you know he didn't have any teammates up alongside him.
Still managed to finish right there in the front group and holds on to the yellow jersey, maintaining his 3-second advantage over Andrei Grivko of Team Astana. Peter Velits moves up into 3rd now with just 4 seconds off the pace. Sylvain Chavanel in the top 5. Richie Porte safely inside the top 10, well-positioned 7 seconds back. And TJ Van Garderen, the American for BMC, not losing any time today, still 16 seconds behind his fellow American.
Yes, the other riders, Danny Pate, Ted King, Alex Howes and Ian Boswell, they've lost a lot of time in this race, but they have another job to do during the early part of the event.
First man to defend the yellow jersey from one day to the next at this year's Paris-Nice, Andrew Talansky, now needs to survive just 3 more days, but tomorrow, the mountaintop finish at Montagne de l'Eure certainly will be challenging. So all smiles from Talansky, and now let's hear from the overall race leader.
We knew it would be maybe the most difficult day to keep the jersey because you have the 2 little climbs, and we brought a really strong team here, but it's not necessarily a really climbing-oriented team. So, we knew I was going to be a little bit on my own in the last 30 kilometers, but you saw the guys got dropped early on, but they came back. They rode the whole stage. I got to just sit at the front, no stress, and then I really just had to follow a couple teams. Sky and BMC are racing to win this race too, so if I had a bunch of teammates, they'd be on the front, but they really rode incredible today. I mean, they came back and they rode the whole day, and it was not a slow day. So it was, yeah, I mean, we knew to keep the jersey, it was going to be very tactical, and I was a little surprised that I was able to keep it. So
the Danger what Richie Port, TJ, I suppose, and of course tomorrow there's the big one. How are the legs before that one?
They're good. I mean, I was never in any difficulty today. They, especially a climb like tomorrow. Climbs like this are actually the hardest thing for me. Like short climbs, 10 minutes long, something. But tomorrow, the last person to win here in Paris-Nice was Contador on Montagne de l'Eure, and his time was about 34 minutes up it at the end. So it's going to be 30, 40-minute climb, and that's a totally different thing than even a 15-minute climb, and especially going up to 1,600 meters. So that, on paper, it's a really good day for me. So yeah, tomorrow it's up to me to just do my job on the climb. I'll do everything I can. That's the easy part.
Paul, do you like his chances of holding on to yellow tomorrow?
I like his enthusiasm. That's quite correct. And comparing himself to Alberto Contador, who did win at the Montagne de l'Eure, is extremely important.
Well, the Epic Cycle presented by Michelob Ultra continues tomorrow with Stage 5, Day 6 of Paris-Nice. It's the first summit finish of this year's race, and we'll have it tomorrow at 12 a.m. Eastern right here on the NBC Sports Network. And for more on the Race to the Sun, you can always go to our website, NBCSports.com. Michael Albacini, the stage winner. Andrew Talansky, the overall race leader. And now for Paul Sherwin, I'm Steve Schlanger. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow for stage number 5.